All right, Miles, let's move on to the Las Vegas Raiders. They find themselves in the news recently. Look, the Raiders have had really solid, quiet offseason, a really, really solid draft. They didn't like dominate the headlines, but I think they made a bunch of really smart moves. And we've got a great report out that shows that one of the moves the Raiders made is already impressing a lot of the right people.
Yeah, Nick, this guy has been impressing. Everybody's impressed me. I think the fans are impressed by him. It's probably one of their favorite pickups of this draft. But nonetheless, there's a lot of moves made this offseason. The Raiders have been getting guys in, let guys go. It has been very, very interesting so far. But of all of the noise, I want the Raiders fans to let us know in the comments below. What was your favorite offseason move that the Raiders made? There's a lot of decisions here. So let us know in the comments below what your favorite move was. Make sure to stay tuned to the end of the video to hear word from our partner of today's video. That is Neuro. They have a product that gives you a quick and easy boost of energy. I love to take the mints just like Nick. We take them before the show. Gives us that little bit of an edge. Keep us focused. Keep us determined on task. So love the products from Neuro. So stay tuned to the end of today's video to hear more about Neuro and their product and to get your hands on our special discount code. But Nick, nonetheless, what is the latest on the Las Vegas Raiders?
Yeah, so the Raiders, like you alluded to, Miles, made a lot of really smart, savvy moves in the NFL draft, and one of them is starting to impress the right kind of people. And look, every time after the draft and during the draft, and frankly before the draft, all the talking heads, and look, you and I aren't excluded from this group. We have our opinions based on what we've watched through football, looking at the data, looking at the research. But I always say what really matters, the people who really understand the positions are people that have played it at the highest level. We talk about former NFL quarterbacks evaluating current quarterbacks. Those are always the greatest sources. Well, here we're going to talk about a certain Raiders second round pick, their tight end, of course, that they got out of the University of Notre Dame, and the high praise he got from another current NFL tight end, that of course is Kyle Rudolph. If you want to bring up the report, Mize, from Outkick.com, I will read from it. This is quoting Rudolph directly. Quote, I think the biggest thing when you look at Michael Mayer is, as opposed to many of the other tight ends that are coming out of college game today, is just his ability to do both for you, talking about blocking and receiving. I think the tight end position is one that, it's kind of a lost art. Obviously, Raiders head coach Josh McDaniels has significant familiarity with the tight end who can do both. He spent a lot of time with Rob Gronkowski in New England. Michael fits that mold as well. They're very similar type players. All right, Mike. So it's one of those things. We've heard this before from talking heads. I think I've had a lot of draft nicks on ESPN will say things like, oh, he's a Rob Gronkowski kind of player. He reminded me of little Gronk as well. Obviously, he big tight end, more number 87 in college, right? So you have some of the similarities there. But here you have a guy, Kyle Rudolph, who knows the tight end position. He's been an NFL tight end for the better part of a decade or so. He's played it at a high level. He's been to a Pro Bowl. He understands that position, and anyone who can play at that level understand it better than any of us that you'll ever hear. The fact that he comes out publicly and says, listen, Mayer is very similar to Rob Gronkowski. Now, look, I don't know if he'll be as good as Rob Gronkowski. That's a very high, praise to live up to. But if he can just be close to as effective as Gronk was with the Patriots, the Raiders will have themselves a dynamic weapon for the long term, who, like Rudolph said here, can do both. We know the Raiders love to run the football. They obviously want to add an element to the passing game. I think if Mayer can live up to that Gronk hype, or even just probably half of that, the Raiders will absolutely love picking him up here in the second round. Miles, give me your thoughts on Mayer, just these comments from Rudolph and just everything with the Raiders right now.
Well, first of all, Nick, the comments from Rudolph are very important because, as you said, a guy who's very solid tight end in the NFL, he spent some time with Gronk in New England. They're familiar with each other. He knows how good Gronk is. Gronk, one of the best, if not the best tight ends of all time. Tight ends don't throw those terms around lightly. Nobody is going to go out and compare a guy to Rob Gronkowski unless they truly see a lot of that player in them and they think that that player is going to be very, very good. Because it's not, basketball players don't go around and say, oh, this is the next Michael Jordan, this is the next LeBron. That's pretty high praise to say early on when you haven't even seen them play in the NFL. So I think this is really interesting comment by Rudolph. He must really, really like what he sees out of Mayer, and he really thinks that he can be an elite level player. But Nick, one thing I know for sure is with the size and the tape that Mayer put up in college, he probably is going to be able to at least block as well as Gronk did because he was a ferocious blocker in the run game. He's out for blood every play. He's mowing guys down, and being like 265, 270 pounds as a tight end, he's going to be able to throw some of these D linemen around. He's got the size, he's got the strength, but he's also a great receiving threat. That's where I put the question mark on a guy like Mayer. Can he be as good of a receiver as Gronk was, because he is a good route runner. He has a little bit of wiggle. He can get open and get some yards after the catch as well. But he's maybe not quite the vertical threat that a guy like Gronk was. But I think maybe he can hone his game in the NFL and kind of grow into that role a little bit. But I like the pickup here. I love the comments by Rudolph, and I'm really excited to see how this guy goes through the motions in training camp and see how he's developed into the season.
And there's just one more thing I want to hit on here. And I think Rudolph outlined this, and I know a lot of Raiders fans are probably excited by this as well. Josh McDaniels, the one thing he was very successful in New England when he was an offensive coordinator there was putting his offensive playmakers in positions to be successful. He put Gronk in a lot of positions to adhere to Gronk's strengths. He did this with all of his players. He did it with the slot wide receivers like Julian Edelman. Whenever they had a big play guy, they would put him in positions to be successful, kind of leaving the other jobs for other receivers. That's what McDaniels, that's one of his real strengths. And I look at him using Mayer in a way that will allow this offense to take advantage of his strengths. You brought up the fact that he's a run blocking just beast in college. I think early on in his career, I'm talking preseason training camp, maybe first couple of weeks of the season, we're going to see him in a lot of power formations, a lot of, point of attack blocking from this young guy. And then later on in the season, and he gets more familiar, gets more comfortable, we're going to start seeing more opportunities for him in the passing game. But I really look for Josh McDaniels here to really take advantage of what he does best. And he'll find that out during the OTAs. He'll find that out during training camp. He'll find that out during preseason. And then, of course, the early games of his career, and really allowing him to be successful by putting him in the right positions. Rudolph hinted to that, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen for the Raiders. But no matter how this shakes out in the end, I think this is a great sign that the Raiders really got an outstanding player here in the second round. All right, Miles, we would like to give a special thanks to our partner in today's video, Neuro.
That's right, Nick. And I want you to go with me on a journey really fast. I want you to imagine this. It's 4th and goal in the big game, Nick. Your team is relying on you to make the big-time game-winning play. I know you've been in this situation before, Nick. The stadium is roaring. The clock is ticking. The game is on the line. But if only in that moment you were able to have some Neuro gum. Neuro gum will help you stay concentrated, and it gives you a burst of energy without a nasty crash.
That's right, Miles. Neuro has thoughtfully curated ingredients and does endless lab testing, which means that you can reach the right state of mind safely and consistently. That's the most important part. It gives you a clean burst of energy and focus without the jitters of coffee or any of those other energy drinks.
That's right, Nick. And if you click our sponsor link in the description below, you can enjoy energy, calm, and focus whenever you need it.